Today's video, they never intended for you to be free.
We are Lisa and Greg, an American couple living abroad in Spain. If you are curious about the crazy, funny, and surprising differences between the US and Europe, you came to the right place. We're on our way to 20,000 subscribers. Still plenty of time for you to hit the subscribe button and be a part of those 20,000. All right, this is Middle Nation. He has 408,000 subscribers. Lisa will include a link in the description so you can go and show them some love. And we can get them up to at least 410,000.
Sure.
Yeah.
410,000.
Yeah,
sure.
I think we can do that. Yeah. So go on over there and do that. All right. You have any thoughts on this? I know we don't really know what this is.
No, I put it into the list a while back, and I don't remember why, but I remember thinking this needed to be out there and for us to kind of talk about it. Because we've been here in Europe about a year and a half. Something like that. And and we obviously have a different, a perspective about America as one of the reasons why we left.
Yeah. And I was going to say we had a perspective about America before we left. Now, since we started this channel, it's even like it's validated.
Okay. Yeah.
What we were thinking.
Right.
So
I think this guy might validate it even more.
Yeah. We'll see.
So we'll see.
Here we go.
Okay.
Let's see what this is all about.
This is one of my favorites to talk about because, as an American, we grew up with this constant drumbeat of telling us about what a great country America is.
Do you know who this is?
No. That's the other thing. I don't know if this guy is controversial.
Did it say in the description?
I don't know. You want to look?
Yeah, let's just check real quick.
Oh, no description has been added to this video.
Okay, great. Okay. So we we don't know. All right. Let's get back to it.
Okay.
Because it's so free and because we have all this freedom and so forth. This is the ultimate example of a misconception. America is the land of the free. It's completely meaningless. I mean, ask an American, what do you even mean? What do you mean by freedom? What do you mean by the freedom that you have that other people don't have? It's like,
that's true. We have said this before, but that's kind of what, if you ask somebody they don't know, what they would probably say is, I have free speech. Mm-hmm. I can carry a gun.
Yeah.
What else?
Well, I think what's more alarming is that we didn't recognize that until we started doing these videos. And we did a video about freedom. Yeah. There was something I forgot what we were talking about, and you said, freedom to own a gun, freedom. And it was like, oh my God, that is what we think of as freedom. We don't even know. Because we just have been fed this.
I think freedom to start a business is one of the ones that a lot of people think of.
Yeah, freedom to start a business. And
create your own future and all this kind of stuff.
As if you can't do that anywhere else.
Yeah, which is crazy.
And we just assumed because we had that freedom, you guys in Europe couldn't do it yourself. You couldn't do it over here.
And it's so interesting when you think about it that there's, I know people out there, well, you could just look on the internet or, you could do all these different things. But I mean, when we were growing up, and there's still obviously generations that are alive that had no internet, don't even know how to use a cell phone, still have a flip phone right now.
Yeah, they're the ones that are.
Yeah, so they have an opinion about America, what's been fed to them, whether or not it was malicious, I don't know. That's another thing.
Right.
But all right, let's keep going.
What do you mean by freedom? What do you mean by the freedom that you have that other people don't have? It's like saying America is the best country because we have the color green. It doesn't make any sense. Okay, you may have health care in your country, you may have efficient public transportation in your country, but at least in America, we have the color green.
Right.
At least that.
Yeah.
The average American citizen has less freedom than any random villager in Indonesia or in Ghana or in any other part of the global South. What freedom are you even talking about? I mean, you're living, most Americans, the overwhelming majority of Americans, as we've been talking about when we were talking about the economy, and you can't separate the economy and the economic standard of living and quality of life of the people. You can't separate that from their freedom. Most Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. For most Americans, if they miss even one paycheck, they're going to be thrown out onto the street.
And some of them are living even worse than paycheck to paycheck. They're getting these payday loans.
Payday loans.
Which is a scam.
credit cards.
Yeah. I mean, people may not know how payday loans work.
Oh.
And just being transparent, unfortunately, we're some of the ones who do know how they work because we've had to use them at points in our adult lives. But essentially, they'd say it's like an advance.
It's an advance on your paycheck.
On your paycheck. And if your paycheck is going to be, say, $1,000, then they'll give you $1,000, but they're going to charge you probably $200 for that $1,000.
Oh, more than that. Yeah. It was a ridiculous amount of
it's like 40% or something like that.
If not more, maybe about 40%. Where, if you're getting like a $600 loan, you have to pay $600 back plus an additional, it was $200 to $300.
Yeah.
So it just,
it's
just like this cycle. It's really difficult to get out of it.
It's difficult to get out of, but that's kind of how it is. You have a lot of people who live worse than paycheck to paycheck.
Right. That's true.
And God forbid, or the universe forbid, that if something happens to you, where you have some type of medical emergency or somebody in your family does, I mean, you're screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You are.
Americans, if they miss even one paycheck, they're going to be thrown out onto the street. That's the reality. You don't have just one master in America in terms of your slavery. We were talking about debt slavery, wage slavery, and so on. Your employer is your master. Your student loan officer is your master. Your landlord is your master. The credit card bureau is your master.
Speaking of that, even the landlord, the landlord is your master. I was an apartment manager, and we gave them 3 days to pay. And I didn't like any of this, by the way. This is why I had to leave. Gave them 3 days to pay. Like on the 5th day is when we gave them a 3-day notice to pay or quit. And that means you have 3 days to either pay or you quit. Quit means basically move out of the apartment.
Yeah.
And that's it. There was no leeway.
No.
And, people would tell me, and of course I would give them that leeway, but there was only so much leeway I could give them. So it's just horrible. You could lose your apartment.
Yeah.
Your place where you live.
Yeah. And where you go.
So harsh.
Doesn't matter. You just be homeless.
No.
Yeah.
It didn't matter where they went.
The landlord is your master. The credit card bureau is your master. Your mortgage loan officer is your master. Your insurance adjuster, your HMO, the IRS, your credit card company. They're all your masters. In America, you're a slave with many masters. And they all have their chains on you, and they all have their own lash that they can use on your back. So what freedom do you have? You have more laws in America and more regulations in America than any other country in the world. The average American's daily life is governed or influenced or restricted or in one way or another determined literally by tens of thousands of laws and regulations. Upwards of 50,000 to 100,000 rules at the municipal level, the state level, the federal.
Just to give this a little perspective, because I know there's people that are going to be thinking, oh, you think that, all these other countries are so great and you don't have all these laws and all these rules and everything like that. So we're just saying that we're just talking about America because that's what we know. We lived there for 50 years. and so we just kind of giving a perspective to everyone out there that this is the one part, a big part of some of the problems that exist in America that people who live in America, the majority of them really don't even know. I would say, because it's a part of existing. There.
Right.
So you just know.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
1,000 rules at the municipal level, the state level, the federal level, not to mention the rules in your own company that you work for, whatever rules that your employer imposes upon you. This is like scaffolding around the daily routine and activities of the American people, of any average American citizen. Most of these rules actually only exist, no matter what they tell you. They'll tell you that these rules all exist to make the society better and to protect you and to make you safe and so on. But the truth of the matter is, and any American who's listening knows this to be true by your own experience, that these rules only exist for the purpose of generating revenue for the enforcing body of those rules through the imposition of fines and fees and so forth. That's the real purpose behind most of these. It's not health and safety and security and efficiency or what have you. It's just to make money off of you.
That's true.
Yeah, and that's why we would have late fees
Yeah.
in the apartment community. We would immediately put on a late fee if you were. It was so strict. That was the third day.
Right.
It was like, boom, you have $50 late fee.
Right.
And we counted that as when, because I did the budgets for the apartments, and that was part of our revenue, was estimating how much late fees we're going to get as part of the revenue.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true. It is included in that. Yeah.
So.
And you have no say in America, in your great democratic country. You have no say in how any of that money is spent. Any of that money that they collect from you, that they oblige you to pay, you have no say in how any of that money is spent. You don't decide what anyone who collects that money, you have no say in what they do with that money. So I'm asking, what freedom do you have? What freedom do you have that's so special and so unique? None. Honestly, none. Zero. There are no freedoms that you have in the West, in America, that are not available elsewhere. And there is freedom.
That's a good point, because there's some freedoms that you have that are, maybe not available in, say, pick another country or two. But what he's saying is that any freedom that you have, it's available somewhere else.
Somewhere else.
So,
like North Korea.
Yeah.
You're thinking. Yeah.
And when we grew up thinking that it is not available anywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's only available in America.
Or the assumption was, oh my gosh, we're so free and that means nowhere else is.
Yeah.
It's just, it turns into an assumption.
Yeah.
Because as children, we don't know any better.
Yeah.
And then you just grow into that without being a world traveler. You just don't know.
Yeah, that's true.
That you have in the West, in America, that are not available elsewhere. And there is freedom elsewhere that you do not have in America. But they tell you all the time about how free you are, so that by implication, you will assume that every other country in the world is an oppressive tyranny and no one is able to do anything.
Right.
There's certain freedoms that are available here that are not available in America. Like, one of them is the freedom of the thought or threat of gun violence.
Oh,
like, that's a freedom.
Yeah.
The freedom to know that if you're one of the ones who have some type of deadly disease, you're not going to be subject to the haves and the have-nots.
Right.
Like, you'll be able to get that taken care of. Like, that is a freedom. The freedom for us to know that our children have, health care,
right?
Things like that. So, yeah, I mean, those are freedoms in a different way, like of the mind. So, yeah.
And then, of course, you have the fact that the overwhelming majority of Americans never leave that country, so they don't even know what it's like in any other country.
Yeah.
Western civilization, so-called civilization, never did actually believe.
That's so true. Sorry. But it's so interesting. Like, people in the comments are always like, they say stuff like, you need to educate yourself and all these things. But I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to say specifically who people are, but I have called and talked to people in the United States and just explain some of the things that are so amazing about over here. And it's almost like they can't really say anything about it, but they're just like, when are you coming back?
Right.
Like, they like, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even.
They don't even know how to add to the conversation.
Yeah. And that they're blown away and they have never heard of these things. I mean, I can go down the list of all kinds of things, even like, I brought this up before, but like the escalator.
Yeah.
How when you get on the escalator, like the first 3, it's like 4 or 5 steps are flat and then it drops down.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, in my mind, like that's something that's really cool about living in Europe, or, all these other things. But I don't know. I guess I'm saying all that to say that it's not as simple as someone looking it up, because how some people believe is embedded in like every aspect of their life.
Right. That's what I was going to say, that it's a belief.
Yeah.
That we all know how difficult it is for someone to change their beliefs.
Right.
And so you're basically telling them America's not all that great as you think it is. And, look at over here, Europe's so great. And they're like, that's not what I believe. Anyway, and then they change the subject, or they just don't want to hear it because at this point.
Well, I think we're a perfect example. We kind of stumbled on this. Like, we didn't come here because we were, the very first time. We didn't come here because we, were tired of America and we wanted to explore. We came here because we had gone to Hawaii like 4 or 5 times. The weather was nice. So we wanted to find another place in the world that had nice weather. And so we came to Spain.
Yeah.
It wasn't because of anything else.
Yeah.
And so,
it's true.
So when we got here, that's when we were like, what the hell? Like, this is how things are.
Right.
So.
Yeah. The realization of why isn't America like this? Why isn't this? What is happening here?
Yeah. Yeah. That's exactly how it was. And so then you start thinking, wait a second. Like, this is. It's like this out there. This is amazing,
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. Yeah, it is true.
Western civilization, so-called civilization.
It's our truth.
That's true.
Let me
That's
just
true.
throw that out there.
True,
it's our truth.
That's true.
Because it's not everybody's truth.
That's true. That's true. Yeah.
Okay.
Never did actually believe in freedom as the highest value. That's the reality that they don't even want you to know about. They never did. Believe in freedom as the highest value. This is just something that they tell you. It's just part of the sales pitch to convince you about how wonderful your society is.
This is true because, sorry. But when they created the whole land of the free thing, there were slaves.
Oh.
So it wasn't the land of the free.
Oh, my Lord.
It was the land of the free for some people.
That's true.
So.
Oh, that kind of made my chest hurt.
Yeah, it wasn't the land of the free. It was the land of the free if you look like me. Right. That's how it was back then.
Right.
Yeah. And
it's just part of.
By me, now, I don't mean me.
I know. I don't mean you. Yeah.
Because people who look like me didn't have freedom.
Right.
The sales pitch to convince you about how wonderful your society is. I mean, if you go back to the alleged philosophical roots of Western so-called civilization, to ancient Greece, and so on, these philosophers that they always claim as their own, as their inspiration, Aristotle didn't believe in this. Plato didn't believe in this. The real foundation of Western belief has always been more authoritarian and classist than it was ever liberal and democratic. They always believed in order and the security of the status quo above liberty and freedom. Always. They always believed in power being held by the elite. If you've read these philosophers, you'll know that. And if you've read, whether you're talking about the Greek philosophers, the Enlightenment thinkers, or the so-called founding fathers, that's the lineage.
Isn't that super interesting? That it's like in America, it's very evident that the people with money have power. The elite people have money. And so from a very young age, that's your life goal.
Right.
Like, you want a house, you want a nice car, you want the most money you can get. It's about that. That's what makes you powerful there. Where, it's so refreshing to be in a place where, I mean, don't get me wrong, we all, want some of the things that come along with having money.
Right. But
it's not the main thing here. And it trickles down into everything else that people don't even realize, so, okay. Sorry. I might as well turn this dude off and just start talking. You about to watch my video, okay? Sorry.
Philosophers, the Enlightenment thinkers, or the so-called founding fathers. That's the lineage of thought behind the modern Western power structure. They just sell to the public this idea about freedom. Because anyone with any sense knows that you can't actually even base an organized society on liberty and the so-called sovereignty of the individual. Everyone who thinks about it for more than 5 seconds knows that. If your society was actually based on what you claim it was based on, well, that's a Ted Kaczynski mentality. How long would your society even last like that? The whole of America would be like the backwoods of Montana. But they don't even respect you enough. The government, the power structure, doesn't even respect the population enough to tell you that. To tell you that obviously you can't base a society on freedom and liberty. Instead, they have to tell you about how free you are, and they just gaslight you, feed into your fantasies because they think that you're like children. They treat you like children. They don't even want you to understand the real system that you live in. That's why they don't even educate people properly. That's why you can see these videos online where people are asking random Americans.
That's super interesting, because it's like he's basically saying that if everybody was just as free as Ted Kaczynski, I don't know, some people may not know who that is, but he was basically they call him a Unabomber because he sent packages in the mail, and you can look it up. But he's basically, and he had complete freedom because he had no laws, no rules. He was just living by himself in the woods.
Right.
So he's saying that you can't have a society where there's just complete freedom.
Right.
But that's what they sell you.
Yeah.
Is that you are free.
Yeah, because you can't live that way. You can't live with liberty and everything. So
yeah,
they have the rules, yet they tell you something else.
Right.
And yeah,
that's interesting.
Even educate people properly. That's why you can see these videos online where people are asking random Americans on the street basic questions, like name a country that starts with the letter B. And they say, shoes. The level of idiocy that's being imposed upon the public is astronomical. You'll probably say the freedom to criticize the government, the freedom to protest. They only give you the freedom to protest in a democracy when they're not actually giving you democracy. I mean, think about it.
And you don't have the freedom to protest,
no, you
especially not right now.
No, and that's
some stuff going on.
A really good example where they're trying to, but that they're not being allowed to.
Right.
Or they're creating a picture that's not true.
Right. Now, there's some idiots that are burning down stuff and doing stuff like that, but there are millions of people who peacefully protest. And right now, you're not allowed to do that. You can't criticize the king over there right now.
Right.
See, when they're not actually giving you democracy. I mean, think about it. Think that through. Why would you even need to go out in the streets and demand this or that if you have a democracy? If you have political institutional mechanisms for having your demands met, why should you protest? Why would you even need to do that? Because your government ignores you. That's why. So your freedom to protest, your freedom to criticize the government, just means that you have the freedom from being listened to. You have the freedom from being listened to. In fact, democracies have actually just perfected the exclusion of the population from policy-making decisions. They've perfected it. The whole so-called democratic mechanism, the whole structure is actually designed to completely marginalize the population. So they've got you busy right now thinking about the election, thinking about who's going to win, and we have to vote for this or vote for that, or vote against this or vote against that. When real power is completely removed from that whole process.
Right.
But they've got you completely distracted from where real power is, because they've convinced you about how free you are and about how democratic your society is, which just actually, in real practical terms, means that you have no power whatsoever. You have no voice whatsoever. That's why it doesn't matter one bit when you go out and protest in the street. It doesn't matter. That doesn't matter any more than you putting your vote in the ballot box. It is.
Then it's like a vicious cycle, because you don't have power unless you become one of the elites. And how do you do that? You figure out how to make money.
Yeah.
And then it's just a cycle. Like everything about your existence is that, because most people, when you make money, you don't live like you don't have money. So when you make money, you need a big house, you need a big car, because you got to fit in with the status quo. Like this is what everybody does. You got to have a nice suit. You got to have all of these things. It's just a cycle. And then when you become powerful, like that's how you get things done. That's why the NRA is so powerful over there, because they directly impact whether or not a candidate is going to get votes or get money for votes.
Right.
And now it's even crazier that I don't remember the year, but they made it to where there's no limit on the amount of contribution you can give to a political campaign. So, I mean, that gives
you're
you
bought.
Yeah. So
They're
that
bought.
gives you even more influence. The more money you have, the more likely you are to get your thoughts and opinions implemented in the U.S. government, which is how Elon Musk got there, because he had the most money out of anybody to give.
And he's admitting it.
Yeah. And he was like, not just like, I'm going to give you some, like, I'm going to go stand next to the president.
Right.
Right. Like, who does that?
Yeah.
With no votes, no nothing. Like, you just gave a lot of money. So you see why we live in Europe. Oh my God.
I do want to say about this, because they're talking about the protests not having any weight in America. And that's true. Because I noticed here, and I was talking to Emma, one of our friends on Discord, and she was talking about...
She's in the community.
She's in the community, yeah.
Subscriber.
And she was talking about how there was a revolution with the protesters, and it was kind of deeper than that. But I know there's another story of protesters, because they came out, they were managed to change the laws Portugal, or whatever they were protesting about. Like politicians stepped down because of their protests, where that has never, as far as I know, has never happened in the United States. Like, it doesn't matter that you're protesting there. Right. It's like, I don't know if any of you have seen The Handmaid's Tale, but it's like that. They all protested in the beginning, and it did nothing. Yeah. It absolutely did nothing, especially when the police and the armed forces and whoever, military, National Guard, they're on the side of the federal government. And then it does nothing.
Well, I will say during the civil rights movement, it did a lot, because you had Martin Luther King, and they gained power without money. I mean, really, because they became such a
powerful force.
Yeah, exactly. Them. I mean, they marched, they weren't violent, and because of that, they were able to get things signed into law. So
I wonder if there was any money behind that.
It probably was. It on some level, I'm sure. But that wasn't the premise that you saw. It was that people were dying and fighting for it. So it definitely had more weight at that time in the United States. But now, I mean, not so much.
No weight.
So yeah.
Okay.
That doesn't matter any more than you putting your vote in the ballot box. It is equally insignificant to what will happen in terms of policy. It begins from the misconception of thinking that your so-called civilization ever believed in freedom and liberty and democracy and so forth. They never believed in that. And if you actually read as I say, the Greek philosophers, if you read the Enlightenment thinkers, if you read the Founding Fathers, they never believed in that for 1 minute. And so you actually have the system that they wanted you to have, that you have the system that they believed in, but you have a very, very different system than the one that you believe in, the one that you think you have. It's completely different, but it's the one that they always intended it to be, which is the power being held by the elite and the population being completely marginalized and disempowered.
Wow.
This is
Man.
You know what's funny is, and he's of the older generations. I saw Arnold Schwarzenegger this morning. He was on, and this was like a day ago. He was on one of the talk show hosts, and what startled me, because it said something about what does Arnold think about the protests and blah blah blah. And so I was like, what does Arnold think? And he's a Republican. He was the governor of California for a while, and everybody across both lines liked him. And he started rambling about, the protests or whatever. But one of the things that surprised me and that my ears went up was he said, but America is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
And he just kept saying that. He said it like 3 times.
Right.
And everybody was cheering. And America is the greatest country in the world.
Yeah.
And it was like, really?
Yeah.
And it just made me think, do your politicians, do your actors and people in general go around saying that your country is the best? And
right. I mean, it's a difficult thing because for some people, America is better than where they are. It depends on what they are. What, you know, there are some people,
I guess.
like if you were in Ukraine right now,
oh,
like you'd probably rather be in America,
right.
or, you know, certain places like that.
Mhm.
And so, you know, but I guess it's just all relative to what you view as important. There's some people who honestly don't care that their food's crap or that they got to worry about guns. They just think it won't happen to them. I mean, there's people who don't care.
Yeah.
And, you know, and they like it. They think it's amazing that you can go to a American football game and buy a beer and eat nachos. And,
Mhm.
you know, that's things that you can't do over here, you know. So, or they think it's awesome that there's strip malls everywhere, and,
Right.
you know, and there's a fast food place on every corner,
Yeah.
like, you know. So it just really depends
I don't know.
on your perspective, I suppose. But
It
I
just
don't know.
irked me that he just was
yeah, I know.
throwing that out there. You know, it's like, oh man, that's the same thing we've heard all our lives. America
Yeah,
is the greatest
yeah.
country in the world.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I know.
Okay, I'm just. I don't know why I'm just saying that, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. We have these debates amongst each other all the time.
Mhm.
And if you really think about it, just to give you a quick little perspective, you live in one place for 50, how old am I? 3? Oh, no.
53?
Yeah,
Maybe?
53
I think.
years. Well, actually, I wasn't there 53 years because I've been here about a year and a half. So anyway, you live in a place of like, say, 51 years. You are told one thing, and then you go to a place where it's completely different than what you believe. And so then it's almost like you don't have a home anymore, because it's like you don't really.
Yeah.
I mean, I have zero plans to go back to America.
No, 0.
But then you have people over here who have been here for 51 years developing their own culture. So you're like kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of our, I don't know, dilemma, or if that's the right word, but that's
just where we are right now.
our existence.
We feel
right now.
we feel a little homeless.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
you know, but we are super grateful to be here.
Yeah.
I can tell you that, because there's so much opportunity. It led us to creating this channel. We have met some amazing people that I can't wait. Like, hopefully this channel is big enough where we have 100,000, 200,000. So we can go somewhere like 200 people come and we just have drinks and, you know, talk and all of that. So
Yeah.
I'm not going to read the comments.
Oh, okay.
Because I don't think we kind of read through them a little bit earlier. Should I read some of them?
Sure.
Yeah, because some
Sure.
people might want to see them. All right. Okay. My grandfather once said, here in America, you're free, all right, free to do as you're told.
Oh.
Slavery did not end in 1865. Slavery evolved in 1865.
It evolved.
It did evolve. It did evolve.
Interesting.
I'm sure there's videos on that, but
Mm-hmm.
we talk about Europe mostly here. You can pay for a house, then lose it if you cannot pay the taxes on it.
That's true too.
Yeah, he's right. I'm American, and he told the God honest truth. Oh, all right.
Okay.
Well, after all that, we're still a happy place around here.
Yeah.
So, but I do want to encourage you to go check out our Patreon, because we have free options, paid options, and we also have a Discord over there where, I mean, if you just want a place where you can go and just sit down and just chat with people for like 20, 30 minutes out of a day, like that's a good place to do it. We have some incredible people in there, and it helps guide the channel too. So if you want to be a part
that's
of
true.
that,
We do a lot of
we're like, hey guys,
suggestions.
hey guys, what do you think about this video? You know, so
that's true.
yeah, so go on over there and do that. All right. Thanks for sticking around on this one. We knew it was going to be heavy, but you know, we try and mix it up a little bit. And you know, as always, go ahead and jump in the comments, because that is what you do. And we would definitely appreciate that, especially on this. We want to hear your perspective, whether you agree with us or not. All right.
Yes.
Thank you for stopping by, and we will see you on the next video.
Bye.